So, it's been a while, and if you're wondering if there's some grand reason why I've been gone so long,
Let me break it down for you, Mark.
Anyway, the main thing is I'm back now, and I'm going to be trying something a bit different. Beforehand, I was just reviewing bad games, and as much as I enjoyed that, I figured I'd give myself an actual goal instead of just endless suffering for your entertainment. So without further ado, I present world records no one asked for. Yeah, I'm still not totally sold on the name, so if you've got a better idea, just put it in the comments, but for the moment it's that. Anyway, the basic idea here is I'm going to pick some terrible game that no one, or almost no one, has ever played, and try to break the speedrun world record. That way, I can technically say I have world record speedruns, it's just in some shit like 3D Munchman 2. And since it's been so long, I thought it'd be fun to go back to the beginning and play one of the first games I ever reviewed on this channel, Pimp My Ride for the PSP, and PS2, for reasons I will explain later in the video. Now, in case you've forgotten the premise of this game, it's pretty straightforward. You've got Exhibit, who for some reason has founded a city, aptly named Pimp City. A place that prides itself on its nice cars, while somehow also being quote-unquote automotively challenged, to the point where they need your help. Now, just to be clear, this run isn't the whole game. That would take anywhere from 4 to 7 hours, and while I was determined to get the record, I wasn't that determined. So I focused on the most popular category in this game, the first level, starting when you hit go and ending when you're declared the winner. Now officially the record stands at 6 minutes and 30 seconds, but for this run, I'm aiming at the one just below it at 7 minutes, since the faster time was set on a Wii emulator, and setting up motion controls just to play Pimp My Ride seemed like a massive ball ache. Now, my first mistake of this challenge started before I even played the game, that being my chosen platform, i.e. the PSP emulator I used to review the game 4 years ago. I assumed reusing the PSP version would be more convenient. It wasn't. In fact, it made everything infinitely harder than it should have been, which became painfully obvious when I clocked an absolutely heroic 10 minutes and 38 seconds. The issue here is pretty simple. The PSP version is borderline unplayable, and like the genius I am, I assumed this was a universal issue with every version of the game. Hence I stuck with it, and after several painful hours, I achieved a marginally better 8 minutes 18 seconds, which believe it or not was good enough for 4th, but still a far cry from my 7-minute target. Ironically, I could have just watched one of my own videos where I'm pretty sure I outright state this is the worst version of the game. But no, apparently the 5-minute download for the PS2 version was just too much for me. And after finally realising my mistake and grabbing a version of the game that scored 36, not 17, I could finally steer the car and start making progress. Now, the run itself is divided into 2 sections. The cash builder phase consisting of 2 identical minigames with different names, and a third that hardly even qualifies as a minigame. Yeah, I don't know what these people are paying me for. After that, you have the pimping phase where you customise the car, hand it to the customer, win the level, where I imagine it falls apart immediately after. The cash builder is definitely the harder of the two, since one fuck up means you have to do the whole thing all over again. Hot stepping and ghost riding are especially important here, since it's where 90% of your cash comes from, and they can actually be pretty annoying until you realise the button order never changes. Yeah, I suppose that one's on me for expecting this game to be well made enough to randomise it. Now, one of the more interesting parts of this run is you can actually skip one or both of the hollow minigames depending on traffic density. Yep, because for some reason, in addition to everything else, vehicular homicide, i.e. maliciously ramming people off the road, will give you money. Think blocks in Mario, where the block is some poor bloke trying to get to work. Now, as for the pimping phase, it's pretty straightforward. As long as you don't crash into the nearest wall, you can breeze through it in about a minute, since you only have to visit 2 of the 4 garages to clear the level. Just roll in at 300 miles an hour, grab the most expensive stuff at full price, and you're done. Just make sure to pick the 2 closest garages to not waste any time. And after figuring out the best route for the run, it was time to give it a shot. And after crashing and fucking up the minigames, I finally got a halfway decent run of 7 minutes and 44 seconds, a time that put me in 3rd. This left me feeling so confident that I set up for another run, was about to shave 20 seconds off my last time, and the game broke. Well, to be more specific, the emulator gods graced me with a glitch that made a normally skippable cutscene unskippable, forcing me to sit through the whole thing, completely tanking not only that run, but every run after that because I couldn't fix it. So the only solution was to download an entirely new version of the emulator, which thankfully wasn't too much hassle. Anyway, after that I managed to get back into it, hitting times of 7:22 then a 7:19 until I ran into another problem. The 2 workshops were just too far apart, meaning even with perfect RNG I couldn't break 7 minutes. I even punished myself with even more of the game to get a faster car, which ironically slowed my times down because I had to spend more time loading, and I was about ready to call it 3rd place until I found this guy. This was a feature that, to the shock of no one, I completely neglected in my review, but turned out to be exactly what I needed. By talking to him, you trigger a pop-up garage right next to where the customization phase starts, and it's right next to a shortcut to the 2nd garage. This discovery saved me over 10 seconds, and after a few more practice runs I started closing in on the 7-minute mark. First with a 7:13 and then lo and behold 6:59.25. Just barely scraping past. Now, technically I could have stopped there, but I'll be honest, that 6:59 felt a bit too close for comfort, and with all the new tricks up my sleeve I started wondering, how low can I actually get my time, and is it possible to get close to the world record? Well, after locking in and trying a few more times, I finally did it, and by that I mean 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Yeah, normally this would be the part where I tell you I got 1st place, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not possible. This is due to the fact the Wii version loads infinitely faster, so no matter how good you are, you will always be at a disadvantage. But hey, feel free to prove me wrong. Regardless, I achieved my goal and I'm now the top PS2 speedrunner for Pimp My Ride in the world. You know, it's times like this where I genuinely think I've achieved a bit too much. Anyway, that's the video. I know I've been gone for a bit, but I hope you enjoy this new format. I'm probably gonna stick to it since part of me actually enjoyed playing this despite how fucking awful this game was. Also, by all means have a shot at beating my time. I'm genuinely curious to see if people can, and drop your suggestions for more speedruns in the comments.